Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council, October 4th, 2016. I show it's now 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Invite you to join us in an invocation led by Reverend Rilla Barrett of St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance, which I will lead.
Let us pray. God of grace and mercy, we thank you for the gift of your creation, for our lives lived in this beautiful place, and for the opportunity to serve you through serving your people here in Oak Harbor. Help us as we gather this evening to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with deep hearts, with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, O God, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of your creation. All this we ask as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Barrett. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you may now be seated. Okay, at this time, I think we have a couple of absent council members this evening, Councilmember Munns and Councilmember Heisen. How would you, yes, Councilman Servades?
I move to excuse council members Heisen and Munns.
Second.
Okay, motion to excuse council members Heisen and Munns, made by Servades, second by Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 1, approval of agenda. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda as presented by Allenberg, second by, I'll give that one to Servades. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 2, presentations. We have a proclamation this evening. Our own Councilman Campbell is headed towards the microphone to read a proclamation in honor of Friends of the Oak Harbor Library. Oh, and he's taking Susan Norman with him.
Gives me great pleasure to read this proclamation. Whereas the Friends of the Oak Harbor Library is a community-based group of citizens who promote, encourage, and enhance the work of their local library. And there has been a Friends of the Library group in Oak Harbor since 1962. This group raises funds annually to enhance the services of Oak Harbor Library, contributing nearly $12,000 this year alone. And the members volunteer countless hours of service to the Oak Harbor Library. And dedicated citizens act as community ambassadors, spreading the word about the library resources and services. And the Friends of the Oak Harbor Library is vital to the enhancement of the library of the City of Oak Harbor. Now, therefore, we, Bob Severance, Mayor, and council members of the City of Oak Harbor, do hereby proclaim the week of October 16 to 22 as Friends of the Library Week. In Oak Harbor, I urge all citizens to recognize and applaud their valuable service. Bob Severance.
Thank you.
Well, Jim stole some of my thunder. We do give between $10,000 and $12,000 a year to the library for children, teen, and adult programming, sometimes for some furniture needs so they can use the space more easily because, we didn't pass our library bond, which was about 12 years ago. So we keep moving things around. But we get our funding to do this for the library from donated used books, and that's really the way we raise money. So if any of you are cleaning out your bookshelves, please bring it to the library. I also have a form if you want to become a member. I always say it's the best deal in town, $5 a year. So I'll leave some on the table back there. And thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. We appreciate the community support for our local library.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you to the Friends of the Library. We appreciate you and what you do. Okay, we're on to presentations 2B, and it is my honor to conduct my first swearing-in since becoming the mayor of the city of Oak Harbor. And I'd like to meet Kevin Dresker in front of the podium here, or in front of the dais, and introduce him to all citizens, those watching on TV, and to everybody here tonight. And when I'm done here, I'm going to introduce him as our new chief of police. Hold up your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kevin Dresker, do solemnly swear
I, Kevin Dresker, do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States
that I am a citizen of the United States
and of the state of Washington,
and of the state of Washington,
and that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
and the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
and that I will, to the best of my knowledge, skill, and ability,
and that I will, to the best of my knowledge, skill, and ability,
truly and faithfully, diligently, and impartially,
truly and faithfully, diligently, and impartially
perform the duties of Chief of Police
perform the duties of Chief of Police
for the city of Oak Harbor, Washington,
for the city of Oak Harbor, Washington,
as such duties are prescribed by law and ordinance.
as such duty is prescribed by law and ordinance.
And I further swear
And I further swear
that I shall diligently and faithfully
that I shall diligently and faithfully
carry out the lawful directives
carry out the lawful directives
of the duly constituted authorities for the city of Oak Harbor,
of the duly constituted authorities of the city of Oak Harbor,
and that I shall abide by
and that I shall abide by
conduct rules of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
conduct rules of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief. I'd like to pause the meeting for just a brief, come down and congratulate our new chief, and those in the audience who would like to do that. And Terry Gallagher? Oh, yes. Could I call Sheila Dresker to the podium? Sheila, get to meet our citizens in Oak Harbor and here tonight. Have you done this before?
Not for a while.
For a while.
Don't draw blood.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Mm. Very cool. Okay, come on down.
How about if I come to everybody? That way you don't have to come to me. Sure, will do. What am I signing? All right. Great. Okay, perfect.
Is there one other here? Oh, that one down here.
Okay. Person whose signature is notarized here?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so you guys can stay where you're at, but I think you got my wife here, Sheila. Raise your hand, Sheila, so I know which one. Next to her is my son, Timothy, or Tim. And then over there is my mother, Beverly, and my father, Wayne. And they currently live in Wenatchee. Thank you. And I wanted to say thanks for everybody coming out here, and I'm going to sit down, but for the officers and employees of the department, it means a lot to me to have you here. I very much appreciate you coming down here and being part of this, so thank you. Thank you. Is this supposed to do something else? Okay, thanks guys. Guys and gals.
Okay, we're going to move on now to item B, citizen comment period. This is a time where citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. To ensure comments are properly recorded, please state your name clearly into the microphone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure all citizens have sufficient time to speak. Do I see any citizen comments? We could talk about the chief now. He's gone. We've got mom and dad in here. No, probably not. Okay. Seeing no citizen comments, we'll move on to our consent agenda. And how would you, if there is no objection, we'll adopt it as it is? Anybody? Okay. Good. We are moving. What time did you say that baseball game? Okay. Item number 5, mayor, council, and staff comments. Actually, other than to say that I'm very pleased to have Chief Dresker. Actually, he and our interim city police administrator are working together, I think, tomorrow, and I believe the chief will be back over on Monday. Interim police administrator Gallagher will be here through the remainder of this week. So really, that's all I have for my comments. And council members, anybody? Councilman Campbell? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem? Sorry. Okay. Okay. Yes, Mr. Servadius.
Just take a look. Is this on, Tim? Check. Talking. On. Super. Just wanted to say once again, I know I've said this in workshops, but thank you to Mr. Gallagher, the hard work that he's done, and welcome to the Dresker family. I don't know if you guys have already integrated, but moves are always, challenging. So welcome, welcome. It's a great place to be.
Wassinger? Yes.
I too, if my mic is on, yeah, I can hear it. Would like to thank Terry Gallagher for his time with his brief time with us. I'm sure for him it may have seemed like a lot more than a few months, but I too would like to welcome Mr. Dresker and thank you for your service and looking forward to working with you and welcome to your family and thank you.
Okay. City administrator comments.
Well, Mayor, I think we'll start with the Clean Water Facility project update, and then I'll have a couple items.
Okay.
Mayor, council members, I wonder if you're looking for a short meeting tonight. I came out here pretty fast.
You
I was
get the
sitting back there
impression?
relaxing, yeah.
There's a football game on, or a baseball game.
So I have the regular update on the project, and when I click the next button, you're going to see a time lapse, and from when we first broke ground, and I super speeded it up so it won't last all that long, but it's pretty fun to see how far we've come along. Started back, the time lapse started in July of 2015. It only lasts about a minute and a half. There they're putting the sheet piles in. You can see them all, the sheet piles are laid out in order there so they can get them installed. And then before too long, you'll see them start digging the hole. And then you can see they're putting the tiebacks in, coming around towards us there. And then they'll start going down some more here in a minute.
Tower crane.
Now they're putting all the micro piles in. And pretty quick here, they'll start pouring concrete. I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun to demonstrate how far we've come. It's pretty neat to see it all go by so fast, but you know, it feels like it was just yesterday that we got started. So recent activities on the project, the non-process buildings, which is admin and maintenance, we got the 100% drawings on those just the other day. And the process building drawings are 100% complete, so we've made some good headway on design. Construction, we're continuing to place concrete for GMPs number 8 and 9, and that works, as you could see from the video. It's progressing nicely. We're still ahead of schedule and ahead on production. So that's the trend is continuing as far as the placement of the concrete. And there we go, saying what I said. As I said, the last time we met, we were getting ready to open the bids for the electrical and mechanical. We've done that, and that's an agenda bill later that I'll talk to you about. It turned out really well. And as far as the concrete work for the remaining structures, we're looking into some options right now on how to address that, and we'll probably be coming back to you in November with more information on that one. So City Beach Street remains from Bayshore to the waterfront remains closed as it has been, and the fencing probably won't change for a little while. The HDPE piping, like we did for the 42-inch outfall, but a little bit smaller, will be showing up on site here before too long, and we'll start getting ready to install that. Funding, we had a nice workshop on the 27th. I think that it went well. We did if anybody is watching from home and would like to know more about the funding and the cost of the project, I recommend they go and watch the video from the presentation or go to the website, oakharborcleanwater.org. There should be a copy of it loaded up there as well, of the presentation and a link to the video. And we reviewed the total project costs, the anticipated funding sources, and what are we in line with the rates, and is that all going well? And I won't go into any more detail than that. You guys can, anybody home can look that up and get more information. And we're preparing the 2018 State Revolving Fund application. That's something that we're working on as well. So some milestones coming up. Tonight, we're going to consider award of GMP 9, which is the mechanical and electrical. And then November 1st or 15th, we'll consider award of GMP 10. We've kind of had to find a place to plug that concrete work in. We'd initially intended to include it in GMP 9 tonight, but the lack of bids on that, we're going to have to create a new amendment for that. So the 1st or 15th, we haven't narrowed this down just yet. We'll have a contract coming forward with Corollo for design of phase 1 of the Windjammer Park improvements. And then at the workshop on the 16th, we'll talk a little bit about the last of the GMPs for the structure itself. And we hope to award that on December 20th. And this is still remaining a pretty tight but doable schedule, and we've been working hard to keep things on track. And this is just a reminder that we're marching our way down the tracks. That's today. We're October 4th. December 20th is, we'll have all but everything inside the walls should be pretty well locked in at that point. And my favorite slide. If you have any questions, 914-7000. We have somebody that can take your call 24/7. And oakharbor.cleanwater.org. We have a nice library there, and we've tried to add a live image of the website. I don't know if it's live, if it's active on the website just yet, but that webcam that I showed the time lapse from, it'll be an active image of what's going on right now. We haven't figured out how to make it more functional than that, but at least you can take a look and see what's happening at that moment. And we have community drop-in hours, and I think I have the wrong date on there, but the second and fourth Monday of each month from 2 to 4. With that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions, Council? Yes, Councilman Ellenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. More of a comment. I had a conversation with the city engineer earlier about the bids on this thing, and I have one concern, and that is on the Valley Electric bid, where they left almost 14.75% on the table. That, for me, creates some concern, but the city engineer and the project manager and Hoffman have all assured me that they are aware of that, they reviewed that, and that Valley Electric has worked with Hoffman before on large projects. And Valley is bonded, and is Valley also underwritten to us through Hoffman? We have a bond on Hoffman, so, I don't want to have to go through a bond issue. We always will just look to Hoffman. I know that they'd be happy to stand in between a potential problem and us. So that by itself does create a concern, and we should be aware of that. And the bids for the mechanical, University Mechanical, and the other three bidders, there was only 3.5% between the first and second bidder, which is actually a pretty good bid and a good grouping too on this thing, because even between the second and third bidders, there was less than $500,000 on a almost 18 million plus project. I have one other question about insurance.
Excuse me, Mr. Ellenberg. I think you're a little bit ahead of us, sir. Joe is still just on the project update and not actually to the agenda item yet for the award of the contract.
Excuse me, he was asking for questions on the update. I am ahead of you, excuse me. I'll hold the other question for when we get to that item then. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, City Engineer Joe Stoll, and I'll bet we'll see you again in a few minutes.
I'm not going very far.
Okay.
I think I'm up
In
next.
just a moment. Actually, well, I've got a couple of comments that Dr. Merriman wanted to have
Okay.
put on the table this evening. One is that we left for you the hiring dashboard at your places, and Emma House, our HR director, emailed that out to each of you this morning. As is our tradition now at the first meeting of the month, gives you a snapshot of where we are in our hiring process within the city. The list is a little shorter than it has been, but they still have plenty of things that they're working on. Secondly, upcoming meetings. We have some meetings that I think you're aware of. October 18th, we're actually having you do double duty. Budget workshop for the general fund is from 3 to 5, and then your regular council meeting is at 6. And then we presently have scheduled for you an October 26th budget workshop, which is the special revenue funds, at 3. And then we're filling in with a little bit of regular workshop time at the back end of that. And a date that you're not aware of yet that we want to share with you this evening is we're looking to schedule a joint workshop between the City Council and the Planning Commission for October 19th at 3 p.m. So it would be the day following that first budget meeting and regular meeting that I mentioned, and the subject matter is low-impact development. Each of you have had a couple of workshops individually on that one. As you know, we're working our way towards trying to get our code updated before year's end, and we think that it would be an efficient use of everybody's time if we could have both the City Council and the Planning Commission meet at the same time. An email will come out from Dr. Merriman's office with that date for you. And then finally, speaking of planning and planning commissions, as you know, it's October. And if it's October, it must mean that it's National Community Planning Month. And it's the time where we celebrate the recognition of our Planning Commission and the fine work that they do. We couldn't do a large part of what we do without citizen volunteers. I know the council is very aware of that. And Planning Commission is certainly one of our important citizen advisory bodies. And so this evening, I'd like to just quickly mention their names. Greg Wassinger is our chair, Bruce Freeman is our vice chair, Hal Hovey, Cecil Pierce, Alyssa Merriman, and Jess Walker-Weiss round out the commission. And then, if you'll allow me, I'll also make mention of our staff planners. We have a fine staff: Kat Kamak, senior planner; Dennis Lefevre, senior planner; and Ray Lindenberg, associate planner. All of those people contribute to the planning that takes place in our community. And again, October is National Community Planning Month. So, thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations, Mr. Powers. Okay, I think we're through the comment period. We have one item under contracts and agreements, that is 8A. But before we do that, I'd like to say that if you choose to speak during a scheduled public hearing or meeting, please sign in on the sheet provided. And if you didn't get a chance to do that, you'll still get a chance to weigh in. Please state your name clearly into the microphone. Limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure everybody has sufficient time. So, having said that, I'm going to turn the meeting back to City Engineer Joe Stoll.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. What we have here is guaranteed maximum price amendment number 9 with Hoffman Construction for the mechanical, electrical, instrumentation, and controls for the clean water facility. The scope of work was broken into 2 bid packages that Hoffman released on our behalf. The first package was for EI&C, which is electrical, instrumentation, and controls, and that's for the electrical work. Obviously, the instrumentation and controls is kind of repetitive there. Allowance for the admin and maintenance building, and performance and payment bonds. Bid package 4 for the mechanical was included not only the mechanical, but membrane, UV, and belt dryer installation, and also bonding for that as well. So the bids came in quite well. We talked about this a little bit at the workshop before. We initially thought it was going to be close to $40 million. It came in closer to $30 million between the 2 packages. So that was pretty spectacular, and we really are grateful that they came in like they did. I think the next slide might be a good one to go to here. We have the cost of the GMP is broken down into several parts. The direct costs are the bid results that you saw for 4A and B. And then there's a negotiated support services, which you'll see that's a relatively small number, and it's largely setting us up for our asset management that we need to do, which is tracking the different equipment on the project to make sure that it's replaced and we fund for it in the right manner. Then we have our risk contingency, which is required per RCW at the same rate that we've done with previous GMPs. Owner contingency, there's no specified general conditions. We did that with the last GMP sufficiently long enough that we're not including it on this one. And specified general conditions are effectively Hoffman's management time that they bid on with the project. And then there's the contractor's fee of 4.28%, which includes bonds. And the GMP without sales tax is a little over $33 million. With tax, it's about $36 million. So it's probably the largest contract we've released to date. Now, I had a few questions earlier in the day that I didn't prepare in my presentation, but if you turn to page 58 in your packet, it's the recapitulation of the GMP that lists out the different items. And we went through and just double checking all the math and comparing it against the bids. And one thing that might stand out to somebody if they're looking real close is that on the third line down where it says $585,000, Is everybody with me? Okay. In the bid, that was bid by Valley Electric at $485,000. That was based on 90% drawings for the maintenance and admin building. If you remember, we held off on bidding the project from the 15th to the 21st so that they could have the latest and greatest information and fine-tune their bids. We put an allowance on there of an extra $100,000 because the plans are not final, and there are some items that we would need to negotiate with them, and we wanted to leave a buffer in this GMP to allow us to do that. I think that's clear. And then this is a summary of the contracts with Hoffman to date. So with approval of this contract, will be before tax at $70.7 million in construction contracts and pre-construction work, pre-construction services. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have. And
Now, before we do that, let's see if the public would like to weigh in. Anybody here from the public like to, okay. Going once, twice, okay. Come on back, Joe Stoll, and how about City Council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Stoll, can you help me understand certain provision on the agreement on page 92 and page 137? On page 92, it's about discounts and or rebates. And on page 137, it's about direct material cost.
you might have to give me just a minute to look through that. This is
On page 137,
so it reads here on page 92, 6.9 discounts, rebates, and refunds. Trade discount, rebates, refunds, and amounts received from sales of surplus materials and equipment shall accrue to the owner, and the construction manager shall make provisions so that they can be obtained. And then it goes on. So it just basically says that it should be provided in a timely manner. And then direct material cost was the other one on page 137, I believe. This is an itemization, including material invoice of the quantity and cost of additional materials reasonable and necessary to perform the change in the work. So the first one on page 92, discounts, rebates, and refunds, that is if there's any, like say we had a pump that we pulled out of the old treatment plant that we could resell and for some value, or for that matter, the generator is a good example because that's a real one. That the proceeds from that surplus would come back to us, to the city. That's the way I read that.
the question, my
Scrap metal
question
as well.
All right. There are similar provisions on those two pages. This concerning the prompt payment. If there's a prompt payment from the owner or construction manager, there will be discount or rebate for prompt payment. Now, my question is, why will the city decline or do not take advantage of the discount or rebate? And if the city does not or decline the discount or rebate, those will go to the construction manager.
Would you, Trevor? Yes. I'm going to, Trevor Teese with Hoffman Construction.
If I may, this is a pretty typical contract provision in public contracts. Our contracts with our subcontractors are set up to be pay when paid. So we accrue the costs of subcontracts and other material invoices. We submit that in a payment to you. Once we receive payment from the City of Oak Harbor, then we forward those payments onto our subcontractors. If we, on our own, elected to pay a subcontractor or a vendor and take advantage of a cash discount that they might offer prior to your payment, that discount would accrue to us. It's not very frequently that happens. In fact, it's very rare that we would want to go out and make an advance payment to any contractor or vendor prior to receiving payment from the owner. But that's the provision you're really looking for. Any other discounts that we take that aren't using our money to take advantage of do accrue to the owner.
So it's a matter of who makes the payment first.
It's a
whether
matter,
the owner
it's a matter of
or
whose money is being
Hoffman
used to make that
Construction.
payment, right? So if you will, we're using the city's money to pay the subcontractors and vendors, right? Once you've paid us. If I wanted to take a cash discount on an early payment using our money prior to payment by you, then that discount would accrue to us. But it's very rare that that ever occurs. And that's the contract provision I believe you're making reference to.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Allenberg?
Well, I pretty much burnt my candle earlier. I jumped in the gun. I do have a question about the insurance. I received a complaint from a potential subcontractor about the insurance requirements on the bid documents for the, not this portion, but for the concrete section on GMP 8. And they said the requirement in the bid documents required them to provide longshoreman insurance. That was a requirement of this project. Am I running on bad information? Tell me why we have longshoreman insurance, or if we are not, because it's very, very expensive for that type of work.
We would have for the outfall, but I'm not sure that there was a requirement for it on the other projects.
If it was included in that.
You want to come up
Probably
here
should
so
come
we
to
can
the
hear
mic, yeah.
Yeah, we had to require US LNH insurance for the outfall construction, and we also had to require it for the outfall connection. The reason we had to require it for the outfall connection work, which is currently being performed by Interwest, is we have to do another dive to install the duck-bill diffusers, or a couple of those duck-bill diffusers on the end of the new outfall. But no other packages should include that USLH insurance, and if we had included that, that was our error. But nobody else is including that insurance in their
You
bid,
know,
so.
since this contractor brought that up, at your convenience, within reason, could somebody get back to me and let me know if it was in that package? Because they chose not to bid because of the size of the premium compared to the value of the work that they were planning to bid on.
I find that disappointing. We've held 2 contractor outreach meetings, and we're available, 5 days a week down there. If you have other questions like that come up, please point them our direction. We want to encourage bidders on the project.
Yeah, and I recognize that, and I appreciate it too. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? Input? Action? What would the council like to do? Councilman Servadius?
I was going to defer, but I'm happy to read. It's a big number. I move to authorize the mayor to sign AIA document A133, 2009, Exhibit A, GMP number 9, in the amount of $33,265,589, plus sales tax of $2,894,106 with Hoffman Construction for self-performed concrete work for electrical instrumentation and controls, process, mechanical, and miscellaneous changes.
Second. Second.
We got a motion and a second, and you can read the recommended action up there. I won't read it again, other than to say this is the largest so far, isn't it? Okay. Got a motion and a second? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoll. And I believe we are done with our
I move to adjourn.
Second.
motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you.